Hey, good morning, everybody. We want to welcome you to today's Lightspeed workshop. Today, we're going to focus on tech video. And I know that tech video is probably relatively new for some of you, and this workshop is really going to dig into a little bit more and give you some tips and pointers and hands-on for how you can actually fully utilize tech video within your service department. I know many of you have attended a lot of webinars before, but we'll cover a little bit of our housekeeping. You'll see at the bottom of your screen, there's a Q&A button. Please ask questions anytime throughout the webinar today. Quentin will be answering questions at the end. We've also got Brian Tierney on today as a panelist, so we'll be addressing those questions throughout the webinar. And then we've also set aside time at the end of today's webinar to address additional questions. So as you think of something, put it into the Q&A and we'll answer those live or as we can in the chat. And without further ado, I want to introduce today's presenter, Quentin Rico. So Quentin, we'll turn it over to you.
All right, awesome. Thank you, Diana, and thank you everyone for being here today. A little bit about me. I've been here at Lightspeed working as an associate for about 2 years now. Started over in support as a technical training instructor where I was teaching our support agents how to use the DMS, how to handle calls, how to solve issues. And then I moved over here to marketing as the product marketing manager, and I've been loving that. A little more background, before Lightspeed, I really had a background in education. I worked as a university tutor, as an academic coach, even a barber instructor. I did that for a while, teaching people from high school student age all the way up to seniors how to have the skills to be a barber. So yeah, a lot of education experience got me into Lightspeed as that support technical training instructor and brought me here to you today. So yeah, that's enough about me. Let's get into the meat and potatoes here. All right, so a little bit of agenda starting here. So this webinar will be a little bit different than your regular webinar setup. This is going to be more of a workshop. So this is tech video workshop. And the difference being that we're really going to have a different starting point than a regular webinar. The starting point for this webinar is more, we assume that you have just got tech video and you're wanting to know, what do I need to do to start implementing this? What do I need to do to start seeing results with tech video today? So let's go through this agenda here and take a look at that. So we'll start out with just a brief introduction, just to know what is tech video? What are the benefits of having tech video, right? And once we go through those, then we'll move on to a getting started checklist. So we're really lucky. We had our tech writers write up a checklist so that you don't have to reference this video every single time you want to know how to get started with tech video. If you want to know those steps, we have a PDF that you can reference and use to check those at any point. After that, I'm going to give you more of a step-by-step walkthrough. So I'm going to go through the entire workflow of tech video and show you all the tiny little pieces of how it flows from the tech's mobile app all the way into the DMS with the service scheduler and then out to your customers' phones. So once we have that finished up, we'll finish off with some tips, tricks, and best practices for tech video so that you'll have all those little nuances that you'll need to know so that you get the most out of this new product. And of course, we'll end with that Q&A where we'll be able to answer your questions that you have about tech video. And if you have any at any point throughout the webinar, please throw them into that Q&A section and we'll be addressing those as this goes along. And we'll have some queued up and ready for once that Q&A comes. All right. So let's answer here kind of what tech video actually is, right? And tech video is really a way to show your service customers the status of their vehicle that is being serviced and what services it needs done, right? And the big value proposition with this is that it's going to happen through their preferred methods of communication, right? People today, how are they communicating? It's happening via video. It's happening via text, right? People are spending their time on Instagram, on YouTube, on TikTok. This is how we're consuming information today. And how are we talking to the people that we know? It's through text. So Lightspeed Tech Video takes advantage of this, and it's going to be able to really get that approval process keyed in. So let's go through a little bit about how this works in actuality with the DMS, right? So you have a customer and they bring in their motorcycle, RV, jet ski into your dealership. Well, the tech is going to go through and do their diagnostics to see which jobs need to be done. And then once that happens, they're going to have all their notes and the list of jobs that they need. Well, at that point, they can go through, use the mobile app to make a brief recording of all those jobs and the things that need to happen. And once they have that, they can send it over for approval from the service writer who really masters that communication with the customer. And they can check it for approval, see if it's missing anything, if the tone is off, just really key in that video aspect. And once it's approved, it's going to be sent off via text to the customer, and they're going to be able to see that quickly and get it approved. So you might be asking, okay, so what's the difference between this and pictures or just calling them, right? I can use the notes and just call. Really what tech video is going to offer you is another level of trust and transparency, right? Because when you get into a video, there's really no angle that you can do to hide things. Maybe you don't get up close enough, but you are at least showing them the exact thing and you're explaining why it needs a service, right? So it's just an extra layer. You're getting communication not only from the service writer, but from the tech themselves. All right, let's get moving along here. And let's talk about some of the benefits next. So this is a huge deal to me. So dealerships using a video solution in their service department have seen a 35% increase in repair order price. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, that is a big percentage increase. And you're right. So I would start asking, why is that the case, right? Let's talk about that a little. So one of the major aspects of why there's that increase is text message open rates. So text messages have an impressive 98% open rate, with 95% of them read within 3 minutes. You can compare this to email, where that open rate is just 20%, right? So we are meeting people where they're at with tech video, and that is a huge value proposition, because what that means is that approvals are going to happen sooner, and they're going to happen more often with that increased trust and transparency, right? So this is really going to help you get more business and more time back to your techs and service writers as well. Another common problem that this helps solve in the service department is some of that watering down that can happen between service writers and techs, right? So think to yourself, someone comes in and a tech does the diagnostic on the unit that's being serviced, and the service writer is preparing to relay that information to the customers. Now, they might take a look at all those jobs that are on the estimate and think to themselves, man, if I send this to the customer, they are going to get sticker shock. There are so many items on this. I think if we send this as is, they're not going to want to approve the work. So they might water it down for that reason. Or maybe they might just be thinking that the tech is overselling, right? So they think they've got an ambitious tech that is trying to get more work done than needs to be done. Do they really need that air filter? This is them questioning that. And then who knows, maybe that service writer might even be just new to the job, right? They don't know, so they want to water it down. So there's a lot of issues with that chain of communication that tech video can really help solve, because not only are you getting better communication to your customers, but between the tech and the service writer, this is transparency between them that, no, this work truly does need to get done. Take a look, you can see it. Or the service writer can, instead of approving that video that the tech sent over, they can decline it and say, we got to get this keyed in. We got to show better that this needs to happen. Otherwise, I don't think this work is going to be approved. So let's talk about another benefit, which is the trust that this builds, right? So here's a quote from Stephen Covey. Trust is the glue of life. It's the most essential ingredient in effective communication, right? And that's really what we're looking for with tech video. It's the foundational principle that holds all relationships. So what you're going to be able to get is a real thing that's going to show them why that work is needed, right? So you're going to be able to really key in on trust, transparency, communication, and you're going to save on the most perishable resource that you have or any business has, which is time, right? So you get that time back that you would be waiting for approval or just wondering, playing phone tag. That's coming back to you. All right, so let's get started on this checklist for you to get started with tech video. If you'd like, go ahead, use your mobile device and scan this QR code here, and it's gonna pull up this Lightspeed Tech Video Getting Started checklist. So this is that resource that you're gonna have that you can reference later. It will be in your internet search history. You can pull it right back up and reference it when you're ready to start getting your dealership ready to use this. Another option that you have, you can see right above, if you go to the Get Help button in Lightspeed, click that and it will take you to the client portal where you can move over to the Knowledge Center and just search the term Lightspeed Tech Video. One of the very first entries that is going to pull up once you're there is this checklist. So you can open it up there or open it up right now on your mobile device. All right. Now let's get started on the setup. So for tech video, there's a little bit of an interplay between the mobile app and the DMS itself. So you are going to need to have both of those. Just remember for your techs, if they're going to have that downloaded either on their personal device or on a business device, when it's downloaded from either the Apple App Store or an Android App Store, you're going to need your business CMF, which is that dealer identification number. You can get that from one of the managers at your dealership if you're a tech or a service writer, or just ask. A lot of people know what that CMF is. For that RAP, that is a remote authorization password, and it is a security code. So that one is a little bit more locked down. That is something that you will have to ask someone with elevated access at Lightspeed to retrieve for you. And once you have that, you'll be able to download the app and you'll be able to access that tech video feature. Now, let's move over to the DMS to address these other two. So we'll go and take a look at the security access needed for tech video, along with the system alert setup, which is really going to key in the workflow that you have. All right, let me bring that up here. Okay, awesome. So let's start with that system access for security. So I'm going to go over to system and security here. Don't mind that. And we'll just open up Alex Clemens' profile here. Now, really the security access that you're going to need to this only pertains to a couple of areas. So the first one, whether your employees are a technician or a service writer, they're really going to need these items checked depending on what role they serve. So make sure that these items are checked and that they're set up as a technician also through the service department here. So if they aren't, check that box, go to service, lists, and technicians here, and you'll be able to set up those people checked as a technician in security, as a technician. The other security feature you'll need to have enabled here is in the service module. So we'll move over to the system functionality access here, open it up, and we're going to, oh, that's sales. Let's open up service. And we're looking for estimates and repair orders along with estimate and RO functionality. So make sure you have estimates and repair orders checked. And then we'll scroll down here in estimate and RO functionality. And the real kicker here is to have this attached file to estimate and RO check. That's really what's going to determine that this workflow goes all the way through, other than those big high-level security accesses. So get that checked and you're ready to move on to our system alerts here. All right. So These system alerts, the way that they're going to interplay with tech video is once your tech records that video and submits it, a system alert will pop up for the service writer saying, Brian just submitted a tech video and it needs approval. So to make sure that these pop up, we're going to go to System and then System Alerts and scroll all the way down to the bottom here. And you'll see that we have this video complete section. So we're going to open that up. We're going to check the box for a new video added by tech via the mobile app. And then you get to choose where you want to be notified. So notify in Lightspeed, in email, or in text. I recommend doing all of them just so that you have that clarity, right? And then you just go ahead and hit save. Now, once you do that, the email and the text that this references is the email and text that the person has saved in their security profile. So be sure that you are checking these boxes inside here and have something selected so that you get those alerts. The Lightspeed system alert will just happen down here in the bottom right corner, and you'll be able to see that. If you do end up missing it in Lightspeed, and that's the only one you're using, you can also use your system alert history over here to see the system alert that happened previously that you might have missed or forgot about. Okay, that's all the setup that we have here. Let's move on to what it's actually going to look like to complete a tech video all the way through, right? So, like I mentioned before, this is going to start over in the mobile application. So let's pull this up here. So once you log in to that mobile application, it's going to look something like this. And the part of the process that we're at here is that the tech has done their diagnostic and they're ready to take a video, right? So they'll click on the tech tile right here, and that will take them into the ROs that they might be servicing. So we'll take a look at this one at the top here for Linda Smith. And here's all the details about that job here. Now, remember, we've got those tech notes taken, the diagnostic has been done. So we're going to go ahead and click on the tech notes just to check what we have. We can see the water pump condition is poor, hard water has deteriorated the Wookie valve, and the unit must be replaced, right? So we know what needs to be recorded. We're going to go ahead and show that. So next, we're going to click on that video tile, and it will show us, oh, look, we already have a couple of videos that have been recorded for other jobs. That's nice to know. Let's go ahead and record another one. So we'll press the record button here, and that will pull up your mobile device's video camera, where you can just hit the record button down at the bottom, begin recording, and you'll see once you start, you've got a stop and a pause button down at the bottom. Now, the pause button you'll be able to use to keep your video nice and edited when you're going through. You know, you don't want a ton of dead air when you're walking around the vehicle, when you need to reach another area. So if you're wanting to describe another job, just split that video up into sections with the pause button, and you'll be able to really key in on the length of the video, because once it gets to a certain length, people just don't want to pay attention anymore. So be sure to use that. Once you're done with your video, you can go ahead and press the stop button. And then it will ask you to either keep playing, go ahead and send for approval, or delete that. So we'll go ahead and click that check button to send it over to the service writer for approval. All righty. And that's where the handshake is going to happen between the mobile app and now the DMS. So now we have our service writer who's going to go into the calendar and check for approval on that video. So I'm going to go into the DMS, go to service scheduler with calendar here. And now I'm going to go ahead and find that RO. So there they are. Let's see, we've got Linda Smith here. I think that's not the right RO though, so I'll type her name up here. Let's see, we've got Linda Smith, and this might be the right one here. All right. So those videos are going to appear right down at the bottom here. I'm thinking I might have the wrong RO up. Let me see if I can find that correct RO. Yeah, there we are. There's our tech videos. All right, perfect. So once those tech videos are submitted, they're going to come over to this customer approval section for approval. And if you need some help, like I did, to look at where those details are, you're just going to click this view details button and then go over to customer approval. And that's where your technician videos will live. Now, you can see those two previous ones that had already been recorded, they are approved. But we have this one that I just recorded here that is still waiting for approval. So to approve those videos, the service writer will just click the 3 lines here, and they can approve or delete that. If you want to view it, you just go ahead and click the button here. There's nothing on this one. This one was just for an example. I have these older ones here that are approved that do have videos, but I'm actually going to save a little bit of these videos for later. We're going to look at what are all the best practices for these videos. I think that's going to be a better place for us to look at what we should include in those videos. So for now, let's just look at that approval process. Now, once those are approved, we're going to go over here to the send message section, right? And we're going to click the down arrow next to send message. It's going to give us the option to send via email or via text. Of course, like we mentioned, we're going to send via text just because of those open rates. And let's wait for it to load here. Perfect. So we have got our template up. If you have a specially crafted template for your approval process, which I highly recommend you do, go ahead and select that. If you don't, there are stock ones that you can use for your business to just go ahead and send out that message. But I'm going to hit the add video button to put those approved videos onto the RO. And let's see here, I've got all 3 of those. And you just check the ones that you want to send out. You can see this one here doesn't have an is public checkbox next to it. And that's because it's the video that I did not approve, right? So if I come in here to my videos and instead I approve that video, perfect. Now, when I come back to that text message and the add video option, you're going to see I've got all 3 of those with a public link. So if you're having any issues with not being able to send that video because it's not public, it's that approval process. So then you can add those videos, get those all attached, and you can see those links for each of those here. And then you'll just send it out. Double check that to phone number to know who it's texting to, and it will send those out. And then once they receive the text message, they'll just click the link and they'll be able to see those as they go. All right. Awesome. Just as a double process here. Oh, click the wrong button. I wanted that estimates and repair. Let's exit out of this really quick. No. All right, estimates and repair orders here. Gonna find Linda Smith. Yeah, there we go. There is a way that you can also approve over here in the repair order. So if I go to the work tab or the attachments tab here, we can look at some of these tech videos and you'll see it doesn't have the verbiage to approve or decline these videos, but instead you have make private or make public. Inside the RO, this is exactly the same functionality. It's just got different verbiage. So just know that that is approve or deny, but inside the repair order. Also, you have the option to send these from the RO as well. You don't have to go through the scheduler. You can send this text message from right here within the RO. And we'll just wait for that to load here and then add those videos this way. So you've got 2 options of how you can send that out to the customer and really get your ROI on this in terms of your workflow processes. Whether you're using that service scheduler yet or not, this is an option for you, okay? Perfect. Okay, so I think that is all of what I have in terms of what's happening in the DMS and this process. That video is now out to the customer who can now approve or deny that work. And with using this tool, you're going to see those approvals happen much more often. So let me get back over to my slideshow here. Awesome. Okay. So let's take a look at a couple of these tech video examples. Like I said, we can really see what we can do in terms of keying into a good tech video. We want to know, when I make these, what is a good example? What's a bad example? So here is an example that I made with our good friend, Brian Tierney. And let's take a look at this tech video. I think I might have to. There we go.
Hello, Ryan with Lightspeed Power Sports, the technician that's performing your video visual inspection of your motorcycle. I'm also the gentleman that's working on your bike. Went through and did a little bit of visual inspection of the brake pads. We did check chain and sprockets. Chain and sprockets look great, by the way. Now your brake pads on the back look fine. Now let's talk about brake pads on the front. We did a visual inspection of brake pads on the front. Front's a little worn, and both sides, both calipers probably need a little bit of a replacement of brake pads. Went ahead and priced those for you. You're looking at $89.95 per caliper. Now we're going to install those at about $120 for the labor. There's going to be some shop supply, so roughly that for the replacement of the brake pads. Now we did look through your electrical component system. You were complaining about some starting issues. Bike was snap, crackling, and popping when it was running. We found a little bit of water in the fuse box that was contributing to that problem. Went ahead and cleaned out the fuse box, dried everything out. Bike's running great. Now, one other thing we did notice when we pulled the fairings is you've got a little bit of a scrape on the exhaust shield. Went ahead and priced one of those for you. You're looking at about $185 for the OEM replacement, and if you'd like a carbon fiber accessory replacement, you're looking $285. That's a great opportunity to replace it now while we've got things torn down. But as always, if you have any questions or need some help, let me know. Brian with Lightspeed Power Sports.
Love it. So fun. You can't get rid of Brian, even when he's not here hosting. All right. So what do I like about this? Well, Brian's got such a friendly tone in this tech video. That is really going to go a long way in establishing a rapport with your customers and establishing trust, right? Along with that, he's got a great introduction. He's introducing himself. He's introducing the dealership when he records this video. Another good aspect of this tech video example is that he lists the issues that are there in the tech notes, the different jobs that need to be done, along with an explanation of why. So you really want to get those included in your tech videos, but don't let it get too long. I think 1 minute here, which is what we have for this one, is the sweet spot. Now, I have another example, but since we're running a little low on time, I actually just want to kind of amalgamate the recommendations that I would have given for that one right onto this one. So if there were items that I think we could do better on this particular tech video that we sent out to a customer, it would be that we could take out our diagnostic tools and really show them the measurements of how everything is doing, right? So take out the tool that you're using to measure the thickness of the brake pads. Show them how thick their brake pads are right there. Take the gauge that you're using to measure the thickness of the treads on their tires. Show them the exact measurement that you're getting there. This level of transparency is really what's going to show people that they can trust you and that they should approve the work. There's nothing to hide when you take out things like the gauges to measure those things, right? Just an extra level of transparency that shows your dealership really takes this seriously. So we'll skip over that second example here. And let's just go over a few of those tips and tricks for success. And we'll end there. So like I mentioned, keep your videos short. 1 to 2 minutes is a really good spot to keep. And if you're having trouble keeping it to that 1 to 2 minute mark, use that pause button. That pause button is your friend with tech video. Include a brief introduction at the beginning of the video. Let people know who they're working with. Make it personal, right? the personal touch is really what puts the cherry on top. Use those tech notes to guide you through the video so that you're not lost while you're making it. But remember, pairing that with the pause button, you'll be able to pause, go and reference those again, go and show the next job that needs to be done. Next, show exactly what needs work and explain why. Remember to give them the why. That's really what's going to convince them to approve the job. And finally, those diagnostic tools, like I said, use those when possible and explain the results of what those measurements mean. It's one thing to just show them the measurement, but if you say, oh, this is 2 millimeters thick, but you don't say what the good ranges are, or if they're in danger of that breaking, it really doesn't mean anything, right? And then finally, with the workflow, be sure that you enable those system alerts to notify your service writer that those tech videos are in. Really important to keep this smooth and keep the process of having faster approvals happen. And then finally, my biggest recommendation with this is to pair it with e-signature. If you pair Lightspeed Tech Video with e-signature, you can really localize that approval process into something like a text or email communication that can happen very quickly, right? So if you don't already have e-signature, I would call your sales rep, ask them about it, get some info about it. You don't have to purchase it then, but it is something that I would recommend to make that process even quicker. All right, awesome. Thank you so much for your time, you guys. Let's move on to the Q&A.
Excellent presentation, Quentin.
Yeah, loved it.
Thank you.
Always fun to see those tips and pointers. And I think you're right. You know, that sometimes we forget like this tool, tech video, is a technology tool that helps people, but it really comes to life when people use it in a personal way and, you know, building that trust and building the rapport with your customers. And I think it's a great way for your techs to get some FaceTime even with customers. I love to know who's servicing my vehicles and what they're doing. It's really helpful. So I know we've got a few questions too. The one question I had is people are wondering what the limit is to how many tech videos I can have. Is there a limit? Is there a limit to the size? Kind of just understanding how that works.
The limit is really going to be associated with the memory limit that you have on your database. So there is an opportunity that you have to get more space on your database if you're taking too many videos and you need more. But there isn't a limit per se on the job. If you need to send 3 or 4, as long as you're working within the memory limits of your database, you're going to be fine.
Okay, great. Because I was like, I know people have asked it, like, how does it affect my price, my speed, kind of all those different things when they're looking at videos as well. I think there was one other question. Well, simple question. People are just wondering if this is going to be recorded, and yes, it will. It'll be available on our website, and it's also, we'll send out a follow-up to those that have registered or attended. So you'll have some additional information there. I don't know, Brian, if you had seen any other questions that came in.
Yeah, I've got a few. One of them kind of relates to that first question about Lightspeed server storage space, and you had answered that to suggest that if dealerships are using tech video and photos and other storage needs, they can expand their server space with just a phone call to their Lightspeed account rep. So we'll love that. The one question that I've gotten on this presentation, and I've had this question before, is does the tech video application send a full MP4 file, or is it a link to someplace on the server? And I think the question is, if we're sending full files, well, that's going to bog down that communication channel, right? So can you speak on that for just a moment?
Absolutely. Yeah. So that process that I had up with the approval where these say public right here, right? Now, what that does is it takes the MP4 file that is recorded on your phone, and it actually transfers it to a public link that Lightspeed hosts. So it's not sending them the MP4 file per se. What it's doing them is it's sending them to a website where that video is hosted by Lightspeed so that they can view it. So they don't need to download anything. No sketchy downloads that will scare your customers, right?
Love it. Love it.
Good point.
I've actually got just another question popped up in the chat, but it's related to a question that I've gotten a couple times throughout the presentation. And I've had this question also before. Is there a specific device that tech video works better with, or should we be considering what devices we should purchase as a dealer when it comes to tech video?
Yeah, that is a great question. And it actually is addressed on that checklist that I had you scan for right at the beginning of the presentation here. There are some limits in terms of what kind of devices can use it. And it mostly has to do with the RAM storage that your device has. So if you're really wondering about the specifications that your device will need, reference that doc. If I remember correctly, I think it was 60 megs of RAM that it's going to need to be able to support tech video. So that is really the only consideration that you're going to need to have when thinking about what device to use.
Perfect.
And I
And
think like people have asked that same thing too. It works with, Apple, Android, it works with an iPad. I mean, a
Yes.
lot of the different tablets that are out there, because that's what I've seen a lot of techs using too, is a tablet even. So it's like, it's not their personal phone, it's a tablet that the dealership has purchased for the techs to use. So that
Yep.
seems to work really well.
yeah. Just got a question popped up in the chat about technicians that are going out into the field to do service work. And I'm going to offer some more context into that question. You may recall in our mobile device webinar that we did a couple of weeks ago, we sent out a poll question to the attendees of the webinar and asked, how many of your dealerships are going out and doing on-site services? How many of you are going to the customer's house or to the marina or to the campground to do
Right.
the service? And we got a response in that poll that said 40% of the attendees that were on that call do on-site, going out into the field and doing service. So that
Yeah.
makes this question particularly relevant. So with that, if 40% of our customers are going to the customer, in addition to servicing, of course, in the bricks and mortar place, how is this going to impact tech video and the function of the mobile application? Do we have any challenges there that you can speak to, Quentin?
Yeah, no, this is actually a bit of a limitation of it right now is when you record that video, you will need internet to send it over to the service writer to be able to get serviced. So you will want to have some type of hotspot connection while you're recording and sending that over. Otherwise, there's not a current way for you to upload that and then send it over to the RO later and have it be part of the tech video process. You can have it attached to the RO as a video, but it's not going to be part of that tech video process per se. That is something that we're working on. It's something we've talked about and considered on the product side to add as a feature, is something where you can just record it there, upload it later, and have it be part of tech video. But right now it's requiring internet access.
So in my mind, just to kind of further speak to that point, if you have the Lightspeed mobile app on your phone and you've got, say, a 5G internet connection, cell service,
Yeah.
pop open the mobile app, and the experience would be the same in my mind if you're on the marina versus at the dealership. So long as you have a 5G, even maybe a 4G, I've had situations where I'm in the middle of nowhere and maybe even a 4G with just a few bars, and I've been able to record some of those things. So as long as you have a decent 4 or 5G, 5G preferred, you'll be in good shape, I think. So
Absolutely. And then another item on that I would say is make sure that if it is kind of a weaker connection like a 4G, it is going to take a little bit longer to upload. So make sure you don't exit out of the app or close out of the app before that uploads. Give it some time to move over. Otherwise, you might lose that video that you took.
Yeah.
got another question.
Go ahead. I'm sure you're doing
I'm
the
sorry,
follow-up
Diana.
there. No, go for it, Brian.
One that I want to get to, I'm seeing more questions come into the chat, so I don't want to miss this one. It's
Yeah.
related to permissions. And I know you went through at the beginning of the setup and preparing tech video to work in a dealership, in a business. And you showed permissions, turning on the permissions for the desktop. And the question is, do those permissions also impact permissions on the mobile app?
Yeah, no, that is a great question. Now, the answer to it is that those permissions do carry over. The permissions that you set in the DMS do carry over to the mobile app. So if you do some testing and you see, okay, there's a like I mentioned earlier, there is a security permission for ROs, right? Being able to access an RO. If you remove that from someone's profile inside of the DMS, it does remove it from their access inside of the mobile app as well. So those do carry over.
Perfect. Perfect.
Okay.
And we got a question. This individual had missed the beginning of the presentation, asking if there's an additional cost for the tech video feature.
Yeah, there is an additional cost. I think, unfortunately, there was a promo and it might have just ended, unfortunately, but it is not super expensive. I would get a hold of your sales rep and ask them what that is. Like we mentioned, if you were able to see those benefits, this has a really big ROI to it. So there might be an initial cost, but this will pay for itself if you implement it in the right way, and more.
Yeah, definitely. And if you don't know who your rep is, you can easily find that too. If you go into Lightspeed and go into help and in the customer portal, it will display who your actual sales rep is. So easy way to get a hold of that specific person as well.
Yep.
Excellent.
And I think, you know, maybe there was one other question that I just saw, but maybe we got them all. Oh, they were just asking more about kind of the connection piece too. Like, you know, if you're out do recording a video and you don't have cell or you have poor like reception on your phone, how does that work? Like once you reconnect to the internet, does it send it at that point in time? I mean, have you lost that video if you're recording it and there's no internet or cell phone connection?
Yeah, I honestly haven't tested it on a no connection basis myself. So I actually don't know the answer to this question, but I would think that you could likely lose the video if you record it and there's no connection and then it exits out. I'm not sure for sure, but that would be my best guess knowing the technology.
It seems to me, Quentin, you and I have some homework to do on that note. So
Yeah.
what we'd probably do is let's put a pin in that question, Diana, because I sure would love the answer to that as well. So I think what Quentin and I will do, we'll do a little experiment here, and then
Yeah.
we'll follow up with that individual, let him know what the answer to that question is.
We'll
Perfect.
go
I
send
appreciate
Brian
that.
out to the middle of the desert or something and have him
Hey,
try and record a tech video. We'll see.
let's wait till it cools down here in Utah before we do that.
That's a good
Good
idea.
plan. We might give you water. We're not sure.
Hey, all right, I'll take it. I'll take it.
No, well, I appreciate everybody attending today. Quentin, excellent presentation on our Lightspeed Tech video. Hopefully everybody attending today has picked up some tips and pointers that will really help you implement it in the correct way and really help you see that positive return on your investment. So thanks again for attending, and we hope to see you on one of our future webinars. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you.
Everybody.